Okay, get this right. In this deep dive, we're talking about a vision so massive, so unbelievably huge, that it shook even a seasoned warrior to his core.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. This is Arjuna's glimpse of the universal form of Krishna. It's chapter 11 of the Bhagavad-gītā, and it's one of those moments that, it just kind of explodes out of its time and place, and we're talking about really big, big concepts here.
Right, we're not messing around with metaphors or anything. This is the universe throwing open its doors and saying, here you go, buddy, take a good look.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that it all starts with this very human moment. Arjuna, he's on the battlefield, right? War's about to erupt. And he has this sudden realization, this epiphany, that his friend, his charioteer, Krishna.
Who just happens to be a divine being.
Yeah, no small detail there. But he realizes this is no ordinary being. This is the source of everything. And so naturally, like anyone would, he asks for a demonstration.
Show me what you got, Krishna.
Exactly. And, Krishna being Krishna, he doesn't disappoint. But it's not a simple reveal. There's this build-up, this tension. Because Arjuna, even though he's seen the light, so to speak, he worries about everyone else.
Wait, he's worried about public relations in the middle of a war zone?
Well, not exactly PR, but kinda. He's worried that if people don't see this incredible power firsthand, they won't truly grasp who Krishna is. They'll just see the charioteer, not the cosmic conductor.
Ah, so it's like trying to explain, I don't know, the feeling of true love to someone who's never even had a crush. Words just don't cut it.
A perfect analogy. And that's precisely what Krishna points out to Arjuna. He's like, look, buddy, you can't just see this with your everyday eyes. It requires a different kind of perception. You need, like, cosmic night vision goggles or something.
So is Krishna saying some people are just, like, spiritually short-sighted, they can't handle the full picture?
Well, it's more like everyone's radio is tuned to a different frequency, and to pick up what Krishna is putting down, you need to adjust your dial. And that's exactly what Krishna does for Arjuna. He grants him, let's call them divine eyes, a way to perceive something so far beyond our normal senses, it would make your head spin.
So he's basically giving Arjuna the ultimate cosmic upgrade. I'm almost afraid to ask, but what does he see? What does that kind of reality even look like?
Imagine, if you will, every single thing in the universe, and then multiply that by infinity. We're talking countless mouths, countless eyes, universes stacked upon universes.
So not just big, but unimaginably big.
Exactly. It's like trying to fit the entire ocean into a teacup. It just doesn't compute. And in the middle of all this mind-blowing grandeur, the text hits us with this incredible comparison. It says that the sun, our sun, which we consider this mighty ball of fire.
And the source of, all life.
Right. It says the sun is like a tiny candle next to the radiance of Krishna's universal form.
Whoa. Talk about putting things in perspective. So how does Arjuna react to all this? I think I just melt into a puddle of awe.
You'd think so, right? But it's interesting. He has this really human reaction. On the one hand, he's completely overwhelmed. I mean, who wouldn't be? But he also starts to pick out familiar things within this immensity. He recognizes deities. He knows Brahma, Shiva, even these divine serpents.
So it's like being lost in a completely foreign country, but then spotting a McDonald's sign.
Yeah.
A little bit of the familiar in the utterly alien.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this whole experience so relatable. It's this cosmic blend of awe, terror, wonder, and yeah, maybe even a tiny bit of comfort.
Okay, so Arjuna's seen the ultimate show and tell. How does this experience change him? How does someone even begin to process that kind of cosmic download?
Well, it's interesting you say that because here's where things get even wilder for Arjuna. It's not just about seeing the universe in its, full glory.
Oh, there's more. Arjuna's poor brain. What more could there possibly be after seeing infinity on steroids?
Buckle up, because Krishna decides to show Arjuna time itself.
Time. Like the concept of time. Or is he holding an hourglass?
No, we're talking about time as this fundamental force, the one that creates and destroys.
Oh, okay. So less about ticking clocks and more about the grand cosmic order of things.
Precisely. And get this, Krishna doesn't just tell him about time. He actually gives Arjuna a glimpse of the future. Imagine watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
But instead of a screen, it's projected onto the fabric of reality. And what does Arjuna see in this cosmic cinema? The very people he's about to fight. The Paurava brothers, Bhishma, Drona, he sees them being drawn into Krishna's mouths.
So he's being forced to watch, like, a cosmic snuff film with all his enemies in it. Talk about psychological warfare.
And here's the kicker, right? This is where free will goes out the window a bit. Because Krishna basically tells him, this is it. This is what's going to happen.
Destiny's calling, my friend. And it's got a nasty voicemail waiting for your enemies. I can't imagine how Arjuna processed that. It's one thing to be told to fight for what you believe in, but to know the outcome beforehand, that's got to mess with your motivation.
And that's exactly the paradox, isn't it? It forces us to ask, if everything's already decided, why bother doing anything at all? But Krishna doesn't let him off the hook with some fatalistic shrug. He's very clear. Arjuna still has a role to play.
So it's like,
Yeah.
knowing the ending of a book doesn't mean you skip to the last page. You still have to experience the story, even if you have a hunch how it turns out.
Exactly. And that's the heart of this whole chapter, really. It's this tension between what we know and what we're meant to do. The tension between seeing the big picture and still choosing to participate in it.
It's a lot to take in. No wonder Arjuna's head is probably spinning. But you know what gets me about this whole scene? Amidst all this cosmic chaos, Arjuna still manages to hold on to something very human.
And what's that?
His connection to Krishna. Even after seeing this terrifying, universe-eating form of God, he remembers Krishna as his friend.
That's the beauty of this epic, isn't it? Even when confronted with the most mind-blowing aspects of the divine, the text never loses sight of that personal relationship.
It's like you're hanging out with your buddy, you suddenly realize he's secretly a superhero with reality-bending powers. But he's still your buddy, you know?
And I think that's why this story resonates with people, even thousands of years later. It reminds us that even in the face of something vast and unknowable, those personal connections still matter.
They keep us grounded.
Exactly. And speaking of grounded, you know what Arjuna does next. He basically asks Krishna for a do-over.
A do-over. Like, can we just rewind back to the part where you were just a dude in a chariot?
Pretty much. He's overwhelmed, understandably, and asks to see Krishna's more familiar four-armed form.
Makes sense to me. After staring into the abyss of existence, who wouldn't want a little familiarity? It's like, okay, cosmic horror show's over, time to put the kettle on and have a cup of tea.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to something really important about how we as humans approach the big questions, the mysteries of the universe. We're drawn to the unknown, to the infinite.
But we still crave the comfort of the familiar.
Right. And this push and pull, this dance between the known and the unknown, that's what makes this whole journey of exploration so compelling.
So we've got Arjuna, right? He just had this cosmic brain fry of a vision.
Right.
And now Krishna's basically telling him, okay, showtime, those warriors, already toast by cosmic design, but you're the one who gets to swing the sword.
And it's such a mind-bending moment, isn't it? Because on one hand, talk about taking the suspense out of a battle.
Spoiler alert, you win.
Exactly. But on the other hand, it raises this huge question about free will. If the outcome's already decided, what's the point of fighting at all?
Yeah, where's the fun in being the puppet when you can see the strings?
And the text doesn't shy away from that. It really leans into this paradox. But through it all, Krishna keeps emphasizing this idea of dharma, this duty that Arjuna, despite knowing the future, is still bound to fulfill.
So it's less about, can I change destiny? And more about, even if I can't, what am I meant to do within it?
Exactly. It's like, knowing the ending of a song doesn't mean you stop singing. You still pour your heart into those final notes. And that's where the meaning lies. Not just in the outcome, but in the act of participating.
So it's about aligning yourself with that bigger cosmic flow, even if you don't fully understand the currents.
Right. And I think that's something we can all relate to, even without a cosmic battlefield in front of us.
Because let's be honest, who hasn't wished they could get a sneak peek at their own life script sometimes?
Absolutely. But this chapter seems to be saying that even if we could, even if we knew all the twists and turns ahead of time, the real journey, the real growth, comes from how we choose to move through it all.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply show up and play our part, even if we don't have all the answers.
And trust, on some level, that there's a bigger dance happening all around us.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key things we can take away from Arjuna's cosmic field trip?
Well, first off, I think it reminds us that the really big stuff, the truly infinite aspects of existence, those can't always be grasped with logic or our limited senses.
It's like trying to explain color to someone who's been blind since birth.
Exactly. Sometimes we just have to experience it to get a taste of what's out there, and even then it might leave us feeling more puzzled than enlightened.
Which can be a good thing. It keeps us humble, right?
Yeah.
Reminds us we don't have all the answers.
And then I think this chapter really highlights the importance of that personal connection to something bigger than ourselves, even when Arjuna is staring down the face of cosmic infinity.
He still reaches out to Krishna.
He remembers their friendship, their bond, and I think that's a beautiful reminder that even amidst the vastness of it all, those personal connections,
They keep us anchored, Give us a place to stand when everything else feels like it's shifting.
Exactly.
Wow, heavy stuff for sure. But also, strangely hopeful.
I think so too, because ultimately this chapter, this whole epic, isn't about getting all the answers. It's about asking the right questions.
It's about that journey of exploration, of constantly seeking deeper meaning and understanding, even if it means occasionally having our minds blown wide open by the sheer scale of it all.
Exactly.
And on that note, to all our listeners out there, whether you're new to the Bhagavad-gītā or you've been exploring its wisdom for years,
Or you just stumbled upon this deep dive looking for something to liven up your day.
we hope this episode has given you something to ponder, to wrestle with, and maybe even to find a little bit of awe in. So until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and